grass. Everybody loves it, especially in an anime style. There's just something about it that makes you feel free. On a field grass, there are no distraction, no noise. There is only you. A few years ago, I shared my first workflow for creating anime-style grass. Since then, I have watched 3D artists from all over the world try it and share their incredible results with me. It's exactly why I decided it was time to make this video. With the release of Blender 5.0, making it easier to start creating beautiful environments, we are moving away from heavy technical hurdles and focusing on the artistic result. I want to teach you the logic of grass scattering mechanic, looking at how to solve riddles using both shaders and geometry nodes. And I will personally guide you through all the process from start to finish. My name is Trung. If that's a bit tricky to pronounce, just think of Trung from Dragon Ball. You might recognize me from some of the live stream I did, but if you don't know me, then this might be the first time we meet. The old tutorials, although comes with a beautiful result, at least in my opinion, also comes with a lot of issues. The main one was the performance. The grass was too heavy and would lag in many situations. In this version, I have completely revamped the workflow, and with the help of the new modifier Scatter on Surface in Blender 5.x, it is now easier for beginners. I also based this workflow from the principle of landscape system in Unreal Engine, which I worked on for a few years before moving on to Blender, which is just for fun, but ends up staying with me until now. The second issue was that although viewer can understand the logic behind the craft, it is difficult to follow, and I intend to solve that issue by walking through the tutorial in real time so you can follow clearly. That is why I'm here. Let's get started. Let's do a bit of blending. First, we'll build our scene from scratch with a simple 3D model of the ground and a single player press. Next, we'll use the new Scatter on Surface tool to fill the entire ground with grass. Third, we will create the material for the grass. This is where the massive performance upgrade happens. We will try the details using a normal texture, instead of baking from a high-res surface like before. Fourth, we'll add wind animation directly into the Scatter on Surface geometry node, making the system perfect for vegetation. Finally, we will separate the ground and grass using color attribute, and I'll show you how to transfer that into a texture for even better performance. First, let's prepare our scene. I will use this to create the hill. You just need to apply a subdivision for this. Just hit Ctrl 2. Maybe increase the resolution a little bit, and then you scale it up, and I will apply this. You need quite a bit of resolution for your mesh. I will adjust a little bit, delete the bottom. I will move it down a bit. There you go. And then we will create a piece of grass for this to grow on. I have a piece of grass here. As you can see, it is quite simple. You can create this by yourself. I'm not going to show it here. It is easy, right? We will do a bit of wrapping for this piece of grass. We will make this double face. Go into edit mode and select all the face. Hit Shift D to duplicate, and then Alt S to push it out a little bit. Right about there is good enough, and then Alt N. Flip it, so now it will have two faces, and you would want it to have two faces like this. We will transfer the vertex normal from a plane to this piece of grass so it can have a flash shading. I will create a plane right here, and we will go into the grass, and then I will add a data transfer. I will pick the plane as a source, check face corner data, and pick custom normal. As you can see now, it has flash shading exactly as the plane, so our grass can look a bit painterly. And I will apply the modifier right here. When you apply it, you can delete the plane. Right now we have the piece of grass, It's a little bit big, so maybe we can scale it down to the right side, maybe something like that. And then you will need to apply transformation. As you can see, it has a little bit of transform number here. You would want to keep this at the world origin, and then Control 8 or transform. We will generate the grass on this hill. Remember to apply transformation to this ground also. And so I will hit O transform, right? Next, we will generate the grass using the scatter on surface modifier. Add a modifier called scatter on surface. Immediately you will see a lot of queue growing on top of the hill, and we can choose our grass as a instant object. You can just pick the eye, how you call this? The eyedropper here, and then you can pick the piece of grass. It will grow on the hill, and then you can adjust the density. For this hill, you can go for a very high number, maybe 300. So I can cover the hill a little bit better. We will go into transform. Right now it's too even. We check randomize. Here a little bit of scale randomness. Just drag this up a little bit. In this slot, we just type in 360 so they can rotate randomly around the z-axis. And that's easy for the grass. And then we will go for setting up the shader. Now we will create the shader for the grass. This is where all the interesting stuff happen. I have already created a sunlight here. You increase the strength a little bit, increase the angle a little bit. We will pick Eevee as our rendering engine and see how it looks. Go to render, and we will see it doesn't have any color right now because we haven't created a shader for it. Just click the ground and create a new material. I would call this ground. There you go. I will also go into the grass piece, right? This one. And then I will also pick the ground. This one. They now have the same material. I will open a window here, go into shader editor, and we will work a little bit on this setup so we can have a shader for the grass. We will create a little bit of cell shading setup for the grass, diffuse BSDF. We will go for a shader to RGB. This is a very basic cell shading setup, right? And the color RAM. And then delete this. We don't use this, right? So I will pick a bit of color. I have set up beforehand a little bit of color right here. Maybe add this, right? That is a pretty good starting point for the grass. As you can see, they have a nice transition. So our job right now is to make this grass have detail. We will do that by applying a normal shader. And I have created a normal shader beforehand. I will drop this in. The shader look like this. I will show you how to create this texture. You can also download this texture in the description. I have a geometry node setup for the displacement here. As you can see, if you don't know how to set up, I can show you the setup right here. It is a very basic setup and you don't have to follow me exactly. You can use a displace and just use maybe a cloud. Yeah. You can use this for the displacement. Just go for any option that you can. And then you can bake it by using cycle, and then you can go down here choosing the high res mesh, and then you can choose the plane. Just need a plane for this. You can shift click it and you choose normal, select it to active, right? Choose image texture. In the shader setup, you just need to have an image texture. Hit new, choose a name, maybe grass normal, hit new image. Just remember to switch this to non-color. Because normal map is a non-color type, you need to select this image and then hit back in a separate window, image editor, right? And that is your grass normal. You just need to save this elsewhere in your computer. You bring this into your grass scene. There you go. And the way we will set up the normal on this grass is by create a normal map node, right? Normal map, this one. And then you must switch it to world space. Remember to switch this to non-color and then go for it. Immediately you will see that it's kind of mess up everything. That is because you haven't set the correct texture coordinate. Right now it is on the UV, and the UV of the ground is very different to the UV of the grass, so that's why it is showing different detail. You need to synchronize the texture coordinate between the ground and the grass. You just need to select the grass normal texture, hit Ctrl T, right? If you have the node wrangler. If you don't have the node wrangler, then just remember to create these two nodes. And we will switch this to object, and then you will see that it changed a little bit, but not very good. You would need to pick an object. I will create an anti-cube. Put it out here so you can easily see it, and then pick it. And immediately you will see that it is already synchronized, the normal detail. You can adjust the cube. I will scale it up, and it will follow exactly the coordinate of the cube. You can even move it. Yeah, so it is quite handy. I quite like this setup. There you go. In other 3D software and especially game engines, this setup is called Object Space Texture. It is extremely useful and widely used in situations where an object has a complicated size or shape, making traditional UV unwrapping counterproductive. A massive field of grass is the perfect example. As the name implies, the texture, size, and position depend entirely on a specific object. In our case, it is the empty object. You can imagine this empty as a movie projector shining a pattern straight down onto the ground. If you move the ground, the pattern stays at the same place. But if you move the empty, the pattern moves with it. By using this method, no matter how we adjust the ground, the texture stays perfectly unified across the entire scene. And it is a bit messy, and I will show you a trick that I use quite often. We can blur the texture inside shader editor. Although we don't have exactly a node for blurring texture, but we can kind of fake the effect. So you will need a mixed color node. Set it right here. You will also need a noise texture. And you will set this up to a very high number, maybe 20,000. Plug it in here, maybe from this. And then choose linear line. That's what I usually choose. You can go for a low number, maybe like this, and you can see that give it a blur sort of line effect. And I really like this trick. I learned this from a post from ArtStation. So yeah, remember to put in the color and not the factor. We just need to adjust one more thing with the normal. As you can see, because we switched this to world space, the normal looks nice, but actually it's lost the shading of the ground. If I cut off the normal connection right here, you will see that the ground should have some sort of a dark shading from its shape. We lose the shading once we put the normal map to world space. The shading of this ground actually comes from the tangent space. If you create another normal map node and then keep it at the tangent space and connect it, you will see that it has the shading of the ground. We must somehow combine these two together. So the easiest way to do this for me is just use a mixed color, right? Mixed color. You combine them together and switch the mode to linear line. And to me, that is the easiest way to combine two normal maps. You can drag this up and down to increase or decrease the detail of the grass. That alone create a very nice look for the grass. And now we will move on to create the wind animation. So the way that we will add wind animation is very simple. We have already created the grass using the scatter on surface modifier, right? The scatter on surface modifier is actually just a geometry node setup. This might look very complicated, but don't worry, you will not touch any of this. You just need to add a little bit of adjustment and you are good to go. The way to do this is go into geometry node of the scatter on surface. You will see the symbol right here. You just need to click it. Maybe name this a little bit. I just add the wind in here. And from now, you can adjust this as your own setup. So I'm just going to show you the geometry node setup for the wind animation. I will open this setup from another window. Here is the wind animation setup for the grass. It might look a little bit complicated. The way this works is you will have two layers of wind, right? The first layer, which is this one, is the large wind motion. And the second one is the wind noise. Usually you would need to have two layers of animation on foliage, in this case grass, right? And that two-layer system usually bring a very nice result. You can find this setup in the description. You can copy the entire system, right? And then hit Ctrl C. And now we go back to the scatter on surface setup. Let me open this up a little bit so you can see a bit easier. The place that you need to pay attention is to the instant on point here, right? We will intervene with the rotation input here. This is responsible for all of the rotation. We will use this to kind of affect the wind, right? From here, we just need to paste in the wind setup. Just hit Ctrl V. Maybe position a little bit. From here, you will need a node called rotation. And just put it here, right? And what you want to do is connect the rotation input to the rotation, right? And then connect the wind setup here. And then make this connection just like I did. If you play animation, then you will see that it had a little bit of movement in the grass, right? Which is very nice. And the way you control the wind direction is by adjust the math node here. And this can be a little bit difficult to understand. You can actually create an empty. So I will just use a single arrow. Remember to switch this to quaternion and create a node called object info. Pick the arrow as a reference point, and then you plug the rotation in here, right? Whenever you rotate the arrow, you will control the leaning direction of the grass, right? Which is pretty neat. You can see that the wind animation kind of flow this way, so we need to move the arrow a little bit like this. So yeah, the more you rotate it, the more the grass will lean. And as you can see, the nice thing about this, when the grass lean, it affects the normal. So it looks like it has some sort of a changing in the color, which is a nice looking detail that I have not planned, but comes out better than I expected. I'm gonna do a bit of naming for this. So yeah, just call this wind direction. And while I'm here, I'm just gonna name this normal texture coordinate. That is the basic of the wind animation setup. And now the most important part. I will show you how to mask the grass and the ground, and we will keep it optimized. You can control where the grass will grow using a color attribute. Select the object and then go for data. And I will create a color attribute for the grass. I will just name this grass, and then we will start with a black color and hit add. We will go into the distribution, hit this symbol right here, and then we will choose grass. If yours is not show up here, then just type in grass. I will just go back to solid modes, and then we will go for text pen. Just choose the white color to pen, and wherever you pen, the grass will show up, which is pretty neat, right? And I will create a bit of a separation in the grass and the ground here. Maybe something like this. And now we have a grass that control where it grows using the color attribute. As you can see, it doesn't have a separate material for the ground. Right now, it's applied the grass material for everything, right? And we don't want that. So we will make a little bit of adjustment for the material. Open the shadow editor. We will create another set of material for the ground. You just need to copy these three nodes right here and connect this to the output to see how it looks, right? And I will just pick a set of different color for the ground. And that looked pretty good right there. We will also use the existing normal map setup for the ground. Just copy this node, right? Like this. And with this, you can have a different value of normal for the ground. We wouldn't want the ground to be completely flat, right? Just reduce this. And for now, we have a set of material for the ground and another one for the grass. We just need to find a way to mask this. Previously, we create a color attribute for the grass to use as a mask temporarily, right? Later, we will have to transfer all of the color attribute detail into a texture. I will explain why we have to do that in a minute. So for now, just bring in the color attribute. You need a node called color attribute right here. And you click it and it will show the color attribute that you have. So just click it. To combine these three nodes together, you will need a mixed color node. Connect it like this, right? And this one is the factor. And immediately you will see that it's sort of working, but it's not working on the grass. Because right now the grass is just instant, so it cannot receive the information from the color attribute. You can turn on the real-life instant checkbox here, and you will see that the grass now can receive the color attribute value. And if you play the animation, you can see that it's working quite well. In most of your case, I think that you will run into a problem because checking the real-life instant box will immediately make your scene so much heavier. As you can see, the triangle here is more than 100,000. That is just for a small hill of grass. If I turn off the real-life instant node, you will see that it will only be more than 1,000 triangle. Checking the real-life instant box will make all your grass become actual object in the scene. That's why it is so heavy. This is one of the issues that I tried to fix for a long time. The reason this happens is because, as before, every place of grass was just an instant. You can think of instances as clones. Because they are clones, they share the exact same DNA. Whatever you do to one happens to all of them, which means they cannot receive different color attributes individually. Once you realize them, they break free from that shared DNA and can finally have their own unique color attributes. This was actually the solution in my old grass tutorial, but it is also the culprit behind the heavy performance costs. I want the grass to receive the mass information and look beautiful like this, but at the same time I don't want to rely instant on the grass because a lot of the situation where I made a larger scene, this would not work. So I'm gonna show you the solution for that. Instead of using a color attribute as a mask, I will use a texture. This works because while instances share the same geometry data, texture coordinates are handled by the shader. The shader doesn't care if an object is an instant or not. We already saw this in action when we successfully mapped the normal texture in object space. And the way we will transfer this color attribute into a texture is by making it. So I'll just create an image texture. Hit new, and for the purpose of the mask, we can keep it low resolution, so 1K is good. You can go even lower than that. So I just call this grass mask. And before we bake, we must make sure that the ground is UV correctly. The way we UV the ground is very simple. You just need to go to the top view, which can be accessed right here, or you can hit the numpad 7. So go to top view, select your ground, go to edit mode, select every face, right? And then UV and project from view, bounce. You choose bounce so the UV can reach the edge of the UV space. And this is very important because later you will need this texture to match exactly the bounding box of the object. So if your UV does not reach the bounds, then it might not match, right? Also, you should turn off the render in the modifier, otherwise it would take a long time to bake the texture. Before baking, I will briefly switch to material preview and then we will go into cycle. We will connect the color attribute to output. The reason we do this is so that we can bake as a emission type. This way it can bake very fast. Uncheck selected to active. Output target as image texture. Other than that, just leave it as it is. You must choose the object and also choose the image texture and then hit bake. It should bake very fast. A bit of the downside of this workflow is that whenever you change the color attribute of the grass, you need to bake again. And so you have the texture right here and you can use it to replace the color attribute as a mask. So I will switch back to Eevee and then connect this, go back to render, and we will see how it looks. As you can see, the grass does not receive the mask very well. Now we have to synchronize the coordinate between the grass and the ground. And the best way to do that is to switch to object mode. And we will need an object as a reference point to synchronize the grass and the ground. And I find that the best object for this is a lattice. So choose the ground and then hit Shift A and you choose lattice deform selected, right? If you choose the lattice and hit N to look at the transformation, you will see that it automatically move and scale the lattice to match the size of the ground, which now we can choose this as a reference point and it will perfectly match the coordinate. You will need to put in 0.5 to this and 0.5 to this and it should look nice, alright? This is where I took inspiration from the Unreal Engine landscape system. Unreal used a bounding box that perfectly encases the ground object, using it to project a texture straight down across the entire terrain, no matter how big it is. I spent days looking for a Blender add-on to replicate this, but after a few days, I realized I could just use a lattice. It does the exact same thing built right into Blender, which totally a eureka moment for me, to be honest. And the cool thing about this is that now it has animation and the grass stay as an instant. You can see the triangle is still more than 1,000. The scene is super lightweight, right? You can have almost as much grass as you want and it would be still easy on your machine, right? We will now make some last adjustment. We are almost done, right? There are a few things that we need to adjust before we finalize the grass. As you can see, the edge of the grass when transition into the ground look very bad, right? The reason that the grass get dark like that is because it is leaned toward the direction of the wind, right? It catches the sunlight differently. The solution is that you must not let the grass move with the wind when it is out in the open like this. So we have to go into the geometry node setup to make some adjustment. You can close the lattice right here. You don't need it. Let me open this up and go into geometry node. The way we will deal with this is we have to put in the color attribute and multiply with the wind. But I want to bring the option out into the modifier so it can easily be adjusted if needed, right? In the geometry now, just hit and let me close all of this, right? Just select any of these and then hit the plus and then you add an input. Just name it something like wind edge, right? And immediately you will see that it appear right here, but it's gray out because you haven't connected it to anything yet. Just put in the default value as 1. The minimum is 0 and the maximum is 1 also. You can give it a bit of description right here, but I'll just leave it empty. Drag it out. Just get another vector math. In here, switch this to multiply and then plug this in. Set this to 1. So with this setup, you can easily choose the color attribute right here in the modifier. Click the symbol right here and then choose grass. Also, it might be a good idea to put in a RAM and track this way higher up, something like 0.5. There you go. And I can show you right here. There you go. And the grass out in the open does not move. If you want it to move a little bit, then just track this out. There you go. So it's moved a little bit, but don't track it too much because it shows the error. So I usually just leave it at something about here. Also, the grass at the edge is very large, doesn't make sense. And the way to adjust that is also very simple. You go into the modifier of the wind, right? And then drag down. You will see that it has a scale field right here. You also click the simple and then choose grass. And it should scale down a lot. From now, you can close the geometry node and you can go for a very high number of grass and would still be fine, maybe 1,000. There you go. Now I will show you how to add some flower on top and some other cool tricks. We actually complete the grass setup. So how do we use it? What if I want to add some flower on top? I have right here a bit of flower. I put them in a separate collection. I'm gonna show you how to generate flower on top of this grass setup. We have the scatter on surface here. And now we just need to duplicate this. So duplicate and then we just need to switch this to collection and use the flower. And it is all over the place. You just need to pick instant. And it's at the right spot. Maybe lower the density a bit. Maybe I go for 50. It's already looking good. If you play the animation, because we already set up the wind in the grass, when we duplicate the modifier, it just follows exactly. From there, you can make adjustment. The trick that I like to show you here is, for example, you want the yellow flower appears more frequent than the purple ones. The easiest way for me to do that is duplicate the instant right here. Just hit Shift D and immediately you will have more yellow flower than the purple one. That is a nice trick, right? Maybe I can just add a background. I have myself a background that I created beforehand and then maybe adjust the position. Maybe something like this. From here is your intention, right? And there you go. I can show you some of other scene that I created using this method. For example, this is another scene that you might have seen on ArtStation. I put it to render and the grass in this scene are using the exact same method that I just showed you. Everything in this scene has some sort of animation. The grass is moving also. So yeah, it is very dynamic. It makes the scene so much more alive, you know. I just like my tree and grass to have animation and not just stand still. You can look at this scene on my ArtStation. It will be also available on my Patreon to download everything, right? Alright, now it's time to say goodbye. So now you can go create your own anime grass. Don't be hesitate to send your creation to me, right? Usually people just send me stuff on Instagram and I just love that. This is probably not the last version of the anime class. Maybe we will improve it more in the future. And I will hope to see you in the next video, right? Bye. Depend entirely on a specific object